Hey guys, welcome back to AFK Journey. In today's video, I wanted to have a chat about quote-unquote end game because after we got those massive dev notes talking about the season, it got me thinking about the direction of the game and what the actual end game is going to be. And this isn't you should do this or you have to do this. It's just me reconsidering what the end game might actually be and priorities for heroes inside the game. So to let you guys know exactly what I'm talking about is going to be over here. So let's take a look at it. So when I read through these season things again, this is what got me thinking. So upon entering the Song of Strife season, the game introduces the season exclusive progression system, which overlay the permanent progression systems. The seasonal progression system consists of the season resonance level, season class equipment, season artifacts, and other seasonal items. You can earn these items, stats, and abilities by playing seasonal content, and they are only effective within the current season. So due to this, and there's something else I'll talk about in a second, but due to this, I feel like because when we consider like quote-unquote endgame, the things we really look at are Dream Realm. Dream Realm is probably one of the most important ones I think that we look at. Then Arena as well, obviously getting those higher ranks. And then the other one would be Battle Drills. Now, I don't know how impactful Battle Drills actually is in terms of the more investment you put into Battle Drills, whether that yields you as much rewards as pushing Dream Realm or Arena. I don't know if you can just casually play through Battle Drills and still get all the rewards required, but I will try and math that out in the future and see how difficult it is to do everything. But when we take a look at sort of Dream Realm and Arena, those are what we often consider to be the main endgame modes at the moment, along with the other Primal Lord boss fights and stuff like that, because getting higher scores gets you better rewards. Now, something that we always considered the early game sort of thing was your AFK stage progression, because once you get so far progressed in AFK stages, at the moment, a lot of people complete the AFK stages, you know, the, what is it, 1125 or whatever it is, and that feels like more of an early game thing, and then even if they introduce more AFK stages into the standard game, well, you're still just... you're not getting as much bang for your buck for stages that you progress, because early on you can clear more stages easily, so you get a much more burst of increased progression from those early stages in the early game, and then it kind of falls off in the late game. However, with the introduction of the seasons, and when we consider that seasons will reset every 4 months, the seasons then, to me, sound like a form of end game for us, but the end game consistently resets us to level 0 based on what they say over here when we look at resonance levels. And this one talks about reaching resonance level 51. I'll talk more about this whole statement in a sec. But so when we look at that, it seems like, and once again, we're still waiting on more deeper information about the seasons, but this could be the new end game is actually campaign progression, because now it has higher value, because in a new season, you're going to want to, probably the most important thing in a new season is going to be once again pushing those AFK stages and progressing through the actual season itself. Now, it is yet to be seen how, you know, all our Dream Realm bosses and stuff will function, whether they will take in aspects from the season or whether they won't. I don't 100% know. We will have to wait and see whether they just keep running off your baseline levels or whether they maybe bring in maybe one seasonal boss that comes in. I don't know, but it seems like campaign progression is going to be a continual thing that is valued, which then leads us into valuing different heroes. Now, the prime example of this for me is Antandra. Now, Antandra, we all know in early game is a beast. I still use her all the time, even though she's only at Epic in my AFK stage pushing, because she is amazing for it. She's, however, not very widely used or, you know, valuable in a lot of the other game modes. When we look at bossing, when we look at arena and stuff like that, she's not that great. So for that reason, I myself and a lot of people don't invest into her. The other problem is that she is a mauler, and trying to invest into her when you've got things like Odie, Kruger, and Coco to invest in already means she's not going to get a spot on that wish list. But however, if you have got them, I'm about to get my Odie to Mythic Plus. Maybe she becomes one of those characters that we start considering for investment because she is so good at AFK stage pushing. She's a fantastic AFK stage tank, and if we're going to repeatedly every 4 months get that repeat use out of her for that function, well then maybe that gives her higher value on priorities. Once again, I'm not telling you to put her on your wish list. I am not putting her on my wish list until I get Odie, Coco, and Kruger done. But it's just something else to consider, and we have to wait and see once the actual season comes out how much we have to prioritize these types of teams, because then it could be a much wiser investment in the future. I will definitely keep updating you guys as we find out more information on the seasonal system and how it works, but I think stuff like this is going to be very, very interesting. Also, another character, once again, Odie, we all know he's fantastic. The great thing for Odie is he's strong in bosses. He does get outclassed in some bosses by things like Muriel. Dude, why? I've forgotten her name. Marilee and Muriel, I don't know. It just brain farted me. Sorry, I had a 16-hour flight and I just came home to record this. So yeah, I feel like Odie gets outclassed by her and bosses in some situations, but he's also very, very strong in AFK stage pushing once we get into Mythic Plus. So this makes stocks on Odie go up as well, and that whole core team. You know, any of the other good campaign units, like Coco as well, very fantastic. But we do get into that stage of these are units you already have on the wish list. Like I said, Antandra felt like the best one, but it's also something to consider as we move forward with other characters that we look at pulling, and maybe we want to weigh them higher in the end game based on the fact that we're going to be repeatedly using these characters for AFK stage pushing. The next thing I want to talk about is this thing over here, which I think is really cool, and it's the one feature I really wanted to hone in on that they had in these dev notes. Seasonal hero skills. I think this is a fantastic feature, and I want to get your guys' thoughts on this one as well, because I think this can definitely be fun for completely changing things up, or it can be an absolute headache. It depends on the way they deliver it. So each hero gains one seasonal skill, only effective during the season. Unlocks after reaching season resonance level 51. Now this adds more questions to me. It's only available during the season. Does that mean everywhere in the game while that season is active? Does that mean in our core gameplay modes, like maybe, say, because we still don't know if Dream Realm bosses are going to be still just part of the core gameplay mode, does that mean these skills carry over into our Dream Realm and stuff like that? In Arena, I'd lean into it's only for the season content, but I don't know. And once again, we don't know how season content is going to work. Is there going to be a seasonal arena? Is there going to be seasonal bosses? We've got to wait and see. But I think this is a very exciting feature, but can also be a bit nerve-wracking, because if they completely flip the meta for the season, so say, let's say the seasonal meta becomes Salazar and Muriel as like the meta, but we don't use them anywhere else, and it's only for that season's push, then it's going to put strain on people who are still trying to build up their Marilee, their Corrin for bossing and stuff like that. So it could be a hit and a miss, but on the other hand, for people who already have these units built, it's fantastic to give them a reason to use the other units that they're inevitably going to have to build and put on their wish list because they get the others done. So I think it's going to be a very interesting one to see on how they deliver this feature of seasonal abilities. Now, the seasonal leveling, seasonal, gear and equipment and stuff like that, that all makes perfect sense. That's perfectly fine. But the seasonal ability is the one that can really throw the spanner in the works, because one ability can completely change a character and make them OP if they were previously trash. So I am like, once again, maybe what if they decide it's a Mauler patch? You know, we're in the desert. Let's make Lumont the most overpowered character in the game for this seasonal content, but let's say it only applies in seasonal campaign. Well, that's kind of annoying because you're not building him for anything else, unless once again that seasonal ability carries over into all aspects of the game. So I am definitely curious to see how this goes, and I want to hear your guys' thoughts, what you think about it, what you think they will do with this, and stuff like that. But like I said, I was on a 16-hour flight and I just kept thinking about this idea of, I think it's going to be cool if they do actually make AFK stage pushing an end game focus, because we're going to keep doing it. And me personally, when I look at games like AFK Arena and stuff like that, I always love the campaign. Yes, bosses and stuff are cool, but the core part of these idle games has always been, to me, pushing those AFK stages. Well, what they call AFK stages in here. In other games, it's the core campaign mode. And in something like AFK Arena, the value in even progressing through those stages just diminishes once you reach a certain point, and there's almost like no real point to doing it or building units for it or being even interested in it. So the fact that we do have that in this game, and we have a possibility to have replayability through early stage AFK stage pushing, I think is an absolute fantastic thing for the game. And once again, we're going to put, if you guys have any feedback once we find out more or this stuff does drop into the game, definitely let me know, and I will make more of these style of discussion videos to get your guys' input in the future, because I think it's also a very important thing to provide that feedback back to the devs on how we're actually finding these functions. Because like I said, having AFK stage pushing as a core endgame, quote unquote endgame mode, because you're going to have to keep doing it, I think is fantastic, but also has to be balanced out. And like I said, the big spanner in the works could be the idea of having this new skill, which maybe sometimes is complementary and a really fun thing, and other times, depending on how they implement it, it could be a really stressful thing, because it just 180s the meta on characters you haven't built that you otherwise would have built for it. But you know, we'll have to wait and see. But that is just the topic I wanted to cover. Once again, nothing confirmed. I wouldn't adjust anything on the way you're playing the game. The season should start in about a week or so for the first people getting it, and then it will be rolled out. Once again, it's 42 days after your server was created. But it's definitely something to think about, and something that gets me excited in the thought process, whilst also being a little bit nervous. But I thought Antandra was the main example I could give of a character that I can see getting a much, like, just the stocks on this character going up a lot, just based on this idea that early campaign pushing is now an endgame mode. But let me know your guys' thoughts. As always, thanks for watching. Hope you have an awesome day, and I look forward to seeing the next one. Cheers.